She said the small A tattoo behind her ear was my initial, Asher. I believed her for 8 months. Then I met a man named Adrian at her work party, and he smiled at that tattoo like he already knew it was there. So I set a trap. What I found broke me. Hey viewers, subscribe and turn on notifications because this story has a twist you won't see coming. Like the channel and stay till the end for the karma payoff. 2 years. That's how long Luna and I had been together when she moved her boxes into my apartment and somehow made it feel like hours overnight. I remember thinking I'd finally figured out what people meant when they said, "This one's different." She laughed at my bad jokes even on the third telling. She left little notes in my jacket pockets before work. And 6 months into us, she came home with this small A tattooed behind her ear, barely the size of a fingernail, and told me it was for me, for Asher. I remember touching it gently that night, feeling like the luckiest guy alive, like she'd carved something permanent out of what we had. Looking back now, I wonder how I missed it. Not the big things. There weren't big things, not yet, just small ones. The way she started wearing her hair down more, covering that little letter like it was suddenly something private instead of something proud. The way she'd glance at her phone and then glance at me, like she was checking which version of her face to wear. I told myself I was imagining it. 2 years builds a kind of trust that doesn't want to be questioned. You build a whole life on someone's word, and you don't go looking for cracks in the foundation, even when you feel them under your feet. I had no idea, sitting on that couch with her head on my shoulder, that the letter behind her ear wasn't a promise, it was a confession. I just hadn't learned how to read it yet. The office party was Luna's idea, her company's summer thing, string lights and plastic cups of warm wine. She wanted me to meet her coworkers, finally put faces to the names I'd heard 100 times. That's where I met Adrian. Tall, easy smile, the kind of guy who shakes your hand a little too long. Luna introduced him casually. "This is Adrian, we work on the same floor." And for a second, nothing about it felt wrong. Then he looked at her, not at me, at her ear where her hair had slipped back, just enough to show that little A, and something in his face shifted, this small, knowing smile, like he was looking at something private. Something that belonged to him. I told myself I was reading too much into it. People smile, that's all it was. But then his phone lit up on the table between us, just for a second, a photo, blurry, half-glimpsed, that looked like Luna laughing, her head tilted back the way she does when she's really happy. I blinked, and it was gone, screen dark again, like it had never happened. I didn't say anything. What was I going to say? "Hey, why does your coworker look at my girlfriend's tattoo like he put it there himself?" I sounded insane just thinking it. So I smiled. I shook his hand. I let Luna pull me toward the bar, her fingers laced through mine like always. But something cold had settled in my chest, low and quiet, the kind of feeling you can't talk yourself out of, no matter how hard you try. A small crack, barely visible, but once you see it, you can't unsee it. The days after that party felt different. I started noticing things I'd trained myself not to notice before. Luna's phone, always face down now, buzzing on the counter while she watched it out of the corner of her eye instead of picking it up in front of me. Working late became a phrase she used a little too often, a little too smoothly, like she'd practiced saying it in the mirror. I told myself I was being paranoid. 2 years of trust doesn't just evaporate because a guy smiled at a tattoo. I needed something real, something I couldn't explain away at 2 in the morning, lying awake next to her breathing. And then I got it. Her phone was charging on the kitchen counter, and a voicemail played out loud by accident, speaker on, volume up, her name flashing on the screen as she'd missed it during her shower. I wasn't trying to listen, I swear I wasn't, but a man's voice filled the room, casual, familiar, and he said something I'll never forget. "Tell Asher you got it for him, not me." I stood there frozen, water running in the bathroom down the hall, my own name sitting in my chest like a stone. The A was never mine. It never had been. It was his, Adrian's. You ever feel the ground disappear under you while you're still standing perfectly still? That's what that moment was. Not anger yet, not even sadness, just this hollow, ringing silence where my whole understanding of my life used to be. I didn't confront her that night. I needed more than a feeling. I needed the truth, whole and undeniable. So I decided to test her. I didn't sleep much after that voicemail. I just laid there, planning, replaying her voice in my head, calm, normal, like nothing was wrong, while mine had cracked right down the middle. By morning, I had a plan. Simple, quiet, no accusations, no confrontation, just truth. I told Luna I was heading out of town for the weekend. A work thing, I said, last minute. An old college buddy needed help moving. She kissed me goodbye at the door, told me to drive safe, told me she'd miss me. She said it so easily. That's what got me the most, how easily the lies came, like they always had. I didn't go anywhere. I checked into a motel 10 minutes from our apartment and waited. I asked a friend, someone Luna barely knew, to drive past that evening, just to look, just to tell me what he saw. An hour later, my phone buzzed. A car in the driveway. Not mine. I sat in that motel room with my hands shaking, staring at my phone like it might change what it already told me. Part of me wanted to be wrong so badly. Part of me hoped my friend had the wrong address, the wrong car, the wrong everything. But I knew. I'd known since that voicemail. I got back in my car around 9 that night. The drive home felt longer than it ever had, every red light another second to back out, to pretend I hadn't seen what I'd seen. But I didn't back out. I pulled up outside our building, cut the engine, and sat there for a moment, just breathing, before I opened the door and walked up those stairs to find out exactly what kind of truth was waiting for me. I stood outside our apartment door for what felt like a full minute, key in my hand, just listening. I could hear her laugh through the wood, that same laugh she gave me 1,000 times, except now it belonged to someone else's joke. I turned the key. The look on her face when she saw me will stay with me forever. Not guilt, not at first. Confusion, like her brain couldn't process the math of me being there. Then it clicked. I watched it click. And Adrian, sitting on my couch like he belonged there, went pale. "What are you doing home?" she said, and her voice cracked on home, like even she knew how wrong that question sounded. I didn't yell, not yet. I just looked at her, at that little A behind her ear, and asked her straight out whose initial it really was. The silence that followed told me everything words couldn't. Then it all came out, fast, messy, ugly. She was shouting that I was overreacting, that I'd been spying on her, twisting the blame like she always did. Adrian tried to stand, tried to say something about being just friends, and I told him to sit back down before I made him regret standing up at all. Luna slapped me, right there in our kitchen, like I was the one who'd done something wrong. My cheek burned, but it didn't even hurt compared to what was already broken in me. I didn't slap her back. I didn't need to. I just stood there, steady, and told her 2 words that hit harder than any slap ever could. I knew. Her face fell apart in real time because she finally understood. This wasn't an accident. This was a test, and she'd failed it completely. I didn't scream after that. I didn't need to anymore. Something in me just went quiet, cold, almost peaceful in a way I didn't expect grief to feel. I walked past both of them into the bedroom and started pulling clothes off hangers, folding them slow, deliberate, like my hands needed something steady to do while the rest of me was falling apart. Luna followed me, her voice climbing from anger into panic. "Asher, wait, please, just let me explain." She kept saying my name like it still meant something to her, like saying it enough times could undo what I'd already heard with my own ears, seen with my own eyes. I didn't look up. "You had 2 years to explain," I said. "You chose a tattoo instead." She grabbed my arm, and for a second I almost turned around, almost let the old version of us pull me back in. But then I thought about that voicemail. Tell Asher you got it for him, not me. I shook her hand off, zipped my bag, and walked to the door. "I have the voicemail," I told her, calm, flat. "I have tonight. If you tell people I'm the crazy one, that's fine. I've got proof of exactly who's lying." Her face went white. Adrian wouldn't even look at me. I think that's the moment karma actually started. Not the slap, not the shouting, but that exact second, watching her realize she had no story left to control, no version of events she could spin to friends, to family, to herself even. Just the truth, finally standing in the room with all of us. I shut the door behind me quietly. No slam. I didn't need one. The silence said enough. 3 weeks later, a mutual friend told me Luna and Adrian weren't together anymore. Apparently, whatever they had only worked when it was hidden, stolen, squeezed into the cracks of someone else's relationship. Out in the open, with nothing left to sneak around, it just fell apart. Funny how that works. Some things only survive in the dark. I won't pretend the weeks after I left were easy. There were nights I sat in my new place, just a mattress on the floor and boxes I hadn't unpacked, wondering if I'd overreacted, if I'd thrown away something real over one mistake. But then I'd remembered that voicemail, remember her face when I asked whose initial it really was, and the doubt would quiet itself back down. Slowly, I started feeling like myself again. I went back to the gym. I called my mom more. I let myself laugh at things without checking if it was the right time to laugh. Trust is a strange thing to rebuild, not in someone else, but in your own gut. I'd felt something was wrong for weeks before I had proof. I just hadn't trusted myself enough to act on it sooner. Luna texted me once, near the end of that month, just 3 words, "I miss you." I stared at it for a long time. Then I closed my phone without answering, and for the first time in weeks, I felt something close to peace. Some people think karma is loud, explosions, public humiliation, dramatic falls from grace. But sometimes, karma is just quiet. It's someone losing the one thing they thought was worth lying for, and realizing, too late, that it wasn't. If you made it this far, thank you for sitting with this story with me. If you trust your gut, even when you have no proof yet, drop a comment with Team Asher. I want to know I'm not alone in this. Hit like if you'd have done the same test I did. Share this with someone who needs to hear it tonight. And subscribe, because there are more stories like this coming, real ones, about love, betrayal, and the kind of karma that doesn't need to shout to be felt. Take care of yourselves and trust the cracks you see before they become the whole truth.